Sherry and her kids have been through hell for the last 10 years, and today justice was served. And you can look on my truck at the sign, and to me that is what justice looks like.
Today in court right there, Mike Ballard speaking. He lost his brother Tommy Ballard in one of the Bardstown mysteries, another fatal shooting. Sherry Ballard addressing Brooks Houck today directly during his sentencing. Brooks Houck will spend life in prison. Joseph Lawson, one of the accomplices in this case, will spend 25 years in prison as well.
And now legal analyst Nick Mudd joins us in the studio live. And Nick, this went pretty much as you thought it would go, the judge going with the recommendations of the jury.
Right. There was no way the judge was going to deviate here. It's such a high-profile case, serious case, tragic case, very emotional for the Ballard family, just a tragedy all around. But, you know, given the horrific nature of the case and how it's kind of gone on, and her body's still not being recovered 10 years later, there was no way the judge was going to deviate here.
Can you talk more about that? Because Sherry Ballard did say, you know, tell me where my daughter is. Look directly at Brooks Houck. You're right. We don't have Crystal Rogers' remains. We don't have a weapon in this case, and we still don't know a real motive.
Yeah, I think when the case started, we all thought we were going to get answers to a lot of these questions. But at the end of the day, we don't know how it happened. We don't know where it happened. You know, we don't know a specific time. We don't know a motive here. We don't know where her body is. What was her cause of death? I mean, there are so many things that were missing from this case. And I tell people, this was a difficult case because of that for the prosecution. But unfortunately, those questions were not answered for the Ballard family. So as much as it is a day of closure for them, I think there's still those looming factual questions that we all have out there.
Yeah, and it's frustrating for them because there is an appeal that'll be hanging over this whole thing. And so if they were expecting to get answers from them or any kind of reaction, we're not going to get it because they're still going to claim their innocence on appeal, correct?
Absolutely. And, you know, Connie, you and I have talked about this. This appeal could go on 4 years, 5 years. I mean, sometimes they go on even longer for various reasons. But, you know, that is to be expected. And remember, Brooks Houck is eligible for parole after 20 years. So even that, a life sentence is not life in Kentucky when you deal with the kind of life sentence that he received. So 20 years from now, minus the time he's got in, he's going to be eligible for parole. That doesn't mean he's going to get out, but he will be up for parole and certainly will be requesting to get released.
Let's talk about the two lingering questions, the unindicted co-conspirators. We left that topic the last time we were here with you in July after the verdict came out in the Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson case. Rosemary Houck, Brooks' mother, and his own brother, Nick. Okay, everybody was wondering, would they next be arrested in this case?
You know, I thought about this a lot. You know, we don't really know much of the proof they have against Rosemary Houck, but remember, with Nick Houck, they had the gun they believed was in his possession or was sold by him that was the firearm used to kill Tommy Ballard. We haven't heard anything more about that, though. But that certainly was something the prosecution said day one at bond arguments when there was a bond hearing, you know, at the very beginning of this case. So it's something I think we're likely to see going forward in the future, potentially.
Well, and with that, you heard many family members talking about Tommy Ballard, wanting answers in Tommy Ballard's case. So do you think, hearing about all this throughout the months of the trial and now at the sentencing, that there will be some heat to get further into Tommy Ballard's case, and we're going to hear more about that? Well,
it's certainly possible, and it wouldn't surprise me for two reasons. Number one, there's still now that pressure is changing, right? We dealt with the death of Crystal Rogers, you know, the individuals responsible and prosecuted, but now the focus can switch to Tommy Ballard and the investigation itself can switch. So they poured an enormous amount of resources in prosecuting this case, and it was justified and valid for them to put those resources in it in order to get this conviction because it was a difficult case. That being said, now they can pull those resources toward the Tommy Ballard investigation.
Tommy Ballard shot and killed as he was going hunting November 2016. But let's take it back to Jason Ellis, the Bardstown police officer, another one of the Bardstown mysteries. Everybody's wondered, everybody in Bardstown, including this community, would this conviction, this now sentencing, lead possibly back to all these cases?
And you know, I think unfortunately, and you all have watched this throughout, we were left with more questions than answers. Certainly we got a lot of answers to a lot of the questions, but it just led to more questions about the unindicted co-conspirators and all these other tragic homicides that have occurred.
They were found guilty in July. Here we are in the middle of September. Is there a reason why it took so long for sentencing? Because, you know, we've been to murder cases where the same week, some even the same day, you'll have the sentencing after.
Well, they have a right to what's called a pre-sentence investigation report. It's often called a PSI. In federal court, it's called a PSR. And in that report, it is required by law on any felony. You can waive that. Most of the time, people do not, though. And so it is tells the judge more about them as people, any issues they have, life growing up. But certainly in this case, it just, you know, given the proof and the serious nature of the case, the judge was just not going to deviate based on what was in there.
Well, Sherry Ballard looked at Brooks Houck today, speaking of Rosemary, his own mother, and said, "I feel as much contempt for your mother as I do you. She taught her children evil behavior, dishonest, greedy, evil." Very powerful there, looking right at Brooks Houck about Rosemary. Unindicted co-conspirator here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, for the Ballard family, this is not over, unfortunately. You know, this was one, a big piece of being able to have some closure moving forward. But unfortunately for them, there are, as the prosecution said, and it's his words, not mine, unindicted co-conspirators here. And secondly, and sadly, we do not have Crystal's body. And that's really the worst thing for the Ballard family, is just they still haven't gotten that closure.
All right, Nick, thank you for your expertise once again. Of course, Nick's not going anywhere. He's going to be joining me a little later here at 9 on the free WHAS 11 Plus app. Nick will be with me and Alexandra Goldberg as we're taking a deeper look at today's sentencing. Again, a 30-minute broadcast at 9 on the free WHAS 11 Plus app. It will run again on the after the WHAS 11 night team at 11:30. It's only on the free WHAS 11 Plus app, so download it on your TV and then watch for free.